Good morning, Armor Down. How'd you sleep? Last night was the roughest night of sleep I've had since the pandemic began. My hair. Yeah, but that's okay. You know, it's all right. I've been lucky to. Well, not been lucky. I've been pretty strategic in how well I've been sleeping recently. So, it's just happens sometimes, and it makes me really appreciate the guts and the grit of all those people out there who do suffer with regular insomnia and don't get sleep on a regular basis. And I see you, I feel you, I know what it feels like. And, part of why I'm doing this every day is for people like you who can, start to learn how to be present with what's there and what kind of things can help that you've got to come to. You've got to decide what your capabilities are, and then you got to decide how to deploy them. And the only way to do that is to become more aware and understand your capabilities. So anyway, I feel your pain. Can you honor the fight by being quiet and still and not doing anything? Can you honor the fight against COVID by being quiet and still and not doing anything? And absolutely. The thing about this enemy is that it doesn't have a self. It's not an other. There's no, the form of it isn't human. It's not something we can conceptualize. It's not even something we can really see. And so it's the enemy is a thing that needs fuel to survive, and you are that fuel. And so by being quiet, by being still, by being patient and waiting it out, you deprive the enemy of what it needs to function. So you absolutely honor the fight. The challenge that you face by being quiet and still is that you're going to experience things come up, and there's going to be feelings inside of you that are questioning and that are, wondering if this is the right thing, or could I be doing this, or should I be doing that? This person's doing this. Am I just overthinking it? Or this person's not doing this. So those feelings are going to come up. So if that's the case for you, I encourage you to pay close attention to third bell today. One of the things that the 4 bells will teach you is first how to tame your mind. And so you tame your mind by coming into the present moment. And that's really bell 1. And bell 2 is kind of the edge of taming and training, because bell 2 is you tame your mind by coming into the present moment, and then you focus on your body in the present moment, teaching yourself how to notice the way your body is showing up through sensation. Now, bell 1 and 2 have a 2-pronged value. They bring your mind into the present moment, taming it. Okay, so the mind is typically all over the place. Taming the mind on the present moment, bringing your attention to the present moment. Then going through the body. So you're kind of spending more time in the present moment, continuing to tame the mind. The longer you spend, or the more time you spend in the present moment in a calm, comfortable way, the better chance you are of moving, shifting the needle into the parasympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system. And also, interacting with the body is something that is a skill that you build over time. And it's also a skill that you can kind of manipulate over time, which is what military training does. It teaches you how to not engage with your body and put the mission first. So you're kind of retraining your mind to connect to those regions. And the third bell, and this is the bell I think you should pay attention to today, is interacting with the breath. So this is where the training the mind comes in. Your breath offers you a resource for managing what's going on inside of you. So by being who you are And by being in the society that we're in, you have to confront the lifestyle that you have in relation to the lifestyle of your community and your culture. And so being quiet and still and patient is kind of in opposition to other ways of being that you're aware of and surrounded by. And so there's going to be feelings that will come up inside of you about your decisions. And when you feel those feelings, you can simply just follow them and let them guide the way your mind operates, or you can interact with them. And the way you interact with them without giving them as much power is by what we're training with Bell 3. It's just the training of the mind to notice what's showing up in your body by its location, its intensity, its direction, its depth, and its size. It's called the language of lids. And what it does is it takes your sensational experience, especially the experience of emotions, and gives your mind something to do with that. Most people, when you experience an emotion, it comes with a story and it comes with a projection of a story. So it comes with the past and it comes with a future. And the problem with that is that you don't actually address the thing that's happening, you're addressing the story. So I encourage you to pay attention to Bell 3. That's really the training of the mind. And then finally, Bell 4 is really the letting go of the mind, which is the quieting of the mind, the oneness, right? The sense of not self. You share in the gratitude, the goodwill, and the love that unites us all by first recognizing it in yourself through gratitude and then sharing it with others in compassion. So that's the progression of the training. So when you see Armored Down training stream, that's the training that we go through. It's Bell 1 tames the mind. Bell 2 is further taming the mind and training the mind to reconnect to the senses. Bell 3 is really teaching the mind, training the mind how to interact with the sensations of the kind of the human experience in terms of your emotions in particular, with the language of lids, location, intensity, direction, depth, and size. And Bell 4 is kind of letting that go and blending in with the universal love through gratitude and compassion. So let's get started. Let's tame the mind with the senses. So right away, it's just nice to close my eyes, kind of submit to the tiredness. Next thing is the sound of the heater, space heater. Notice the wetness of my mouth, the taste of my mouth. Feeling of my shirt, blanket, temperature. Just notice the little strand of hair. My hair is getting long, touching the back of my neck. It's light. Cold setting in. Yawn. Just bringing the mind into the present moment. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Let's go to Bell 2. So moving into the alignment, the sensations of the body, starting with the ground. Right away, I notice the way my ankles are against the ground. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not too bad. I'm going to make just some tiny adjustments. It's plenty. Next, come into the pelvis. And, feel free to move around. There's lots of feeling, popping, shifting, moving. It's available at each one of the points, and when you go into bell 2, you put your mindset in kind of a sense of curiosity or a learning mindset. It's a communication. It's a, all right, body, I'm coming to talk to you. What do you have to say? In the military, the context would be like asking for a situation report. Leadership would reach out to a unit somewhere and say, hey, what's going on? And they would send feedback, and that would give the commander an impression of what's going on in that region. So you do the same thing with your own body. You go from pelvis then up to core. Currently, I've been playing around with the compressing of the core, the collapsing in, the tightening of the core, then letting it out, finding a middle. Shoulder blades, it's always useful to move around the shoulder blades. Maybe there's a twist in the heart space region. Maybe a little shake. Coming up to the throat space, noticing the throat, noticing the jaw. Maybe there's a swallow there that you can watch go from the top of your throat all the way down in a kind of a pattern of sensation that is predictable and you can notice it as being present. In the breath, you also have opportunity to notice the breath traveling up and down the throat. Coming up to the head, noticing the top of the head as the top of the spine, softening the face, kind of a state of alert and relaxed at the same time. Softening the muscles of the face, and then, hacking the vagus nerve a little bit, throwing a little smile on there. Maybe I'd try a different kind of smile. I've said, a smile that no one could see, or what if you just smiled with larger on one side of the mouth than the other? It's like I can feel myself smiling really big on the right side, but kind of not so much on the left, just kind of a smile that you maybe haven't done in a while, Let's do bell 3. So find the location of your breath. Where is your breath right now in your body? Where do you feel your breath right now in your body? How intense is it? On a scale of 1 to 5, how intense is your breath at the moment? Now, what direction is your breath moving in? Is it moving kind of out, expanding outward, or is it moving up and down? How deep in your body is your breath? Like, do you feel your breath kind of deep in the middle of your body, or does it show up more to like the out, like the periphery, the closer to your skin? Is it kind of shallow? Lastly, how big is your breath? If it was a ball kind of expanding on the inhale and collapsing on the exhale, how big is it? Now, starting with size, okay, change the size of your breath. Maybe do the opposite of what it is. So if it's small, go big. If it's big, go small. Now the depth of your breath. See if you can bring your breath all the way to like the outer edges of the container of your body. So see if you can, on an inhale, a big inhale, see if you can feel your breath pushing out against the outer edges of your body on your inhale. Max it out. See if you can feel that. Now, in terms of direction, see if you can keep the same kind of bigger breaths and notice the signs. See if you can feel your breath go sideways. And part of this is your own thinking. You can actually envision your sides, and by envisioning your sides as you breathe, you'll feel your sides move. Now, intensity, do 3 rounds at a kind of a more intense pace. Or maybe you want to do 3 rounds at a low intense pace. You know, kind of keep it real quiet, but do 3 rounds anyway. And put the pieces together. So kind of working backwards, the size, the depth, the direction, the intensity. And notice the location. Notice how it changes. Okay, notice how the beginning of the breath, you'll feel it in kind of one area. The middle of the breath will have another area. And then the top of the breath will have a maxed out area that it can't go anywhere else. And then it'll return. So see if you can study the location, the movement of the breath as you go through a series of 3 rounds of breathing. Now, last thing, emotions and feelings have qualities that are kind of varied. And so one way to study some of these qualities is to add a breath hold in your practice. So we're going to do a minute of just your own personal practice. But inside that practice, I encourage you to study the breath hold, because when you do a breath hold, whether it's at the top of the breath or the bottom of the breath, you'll hear what's, best described as your breath or your lungs becoming hungry for air, or hungry to exhale, or hungry to continue the process. So it's this feeling that has qualities of experience that you can study. So I encourage you to put a breath hold into your minute. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I encourage you to just notice it. So we know when we're in kind of a team environment, when we're operating at a high level together, when we're really flowing with others, there's this quality that kind of blends the team. Flow state, love, spirit, whatever you want to call it. But there's a quality of no self where you blend in. And that same quality can be practiced by expressing gratitude. That quality of, I know it's not just about me. I know that there's more out there going on. I don't necessarily have to know what it is or how to explain it, but I know there's more out there going on, and I know a lot of that has shown up for me as grace realized, hope experienced. And so what are those things in your life? And by acknowledging them, you're acknowledging that your participation is bigger than yourself. So what are you grateful for? What things have you hoped for that have happened? How has grace shown up in your life? Now from there, take the way that you've kind of acknowledged things for yourself and shift that to support for others. We can always connect to other people through the shared experience or the shared human experience of suffering and challenge. And so we all are sharing this fight against COVID. And so we can support the healing from this fight against this pandemic, against this invisible enemy, by sharing the goodwill that we have within ourselves with other people. Excuse me. So how will you support the healing today? Who would you like to send the goodwill in your heart to? Be intentional about your finish. I like to take 2 breaths, and on the end of the second breath, I finish the practice. All right. Just recap. Okay, tame the mind by bringing the mind into the present moment. You do that with your senses. Giving your mind something to do in the present moment, focusing on a sense, or all your senses, or moving around from sense to sense. Bell 2. Still taming the mind. Time spent in the present tense fosters a shift in your internal environment, which is centered around the parasympathetic side of your nervous system. But also it's connecting to sensation in the body. The body has a lot to tell you. It's got a language that you have to learn for yourself. It's what we go through while we go through the points. It's starting to train your mind. Third bell is all about training the mind. Training the mind to be aware of and to interact with the incredible fluctuations that are capable inside of ourselves. We work with the breath because it's predictable. But by working with the breath, it helps us work with emotions, by recognizing that we can interact with the emotions beyond their story through location, intensity, direction, depth, and size. Then lastly, 4th bell, we support the healing. We support the healing of ourselves and of others by acknowledging that we're not islands. We don't exist independent of others. We exist within and with others, and we share a universal connection to love. And so we acknowledge that for ourselves through gratitude, and we acknowledge our ability to support others through compassion. So those are the 4 bells. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.